Really good.
When we were initially putting this program together, we talked about the instructors and the important role that they play. And a second factor that struck us as we were putting this program together is that, there has to be, sometimes it's the same person, but a lot of times it's not. There has to be people that are putting together these programs and combining the work of the instructors in the field, coordinating with the members of their clubs, coordinating with the public, and that's where this panel came together. Everybody that's up here could have very well just been on the last panel, instructors, folks that are dedicated to junior golf. And we're glad to have these folks here with us. Mike Dosh is the Director of Golf at Dunwoody Country Club. Ryan O'Mahony is the PGA Junior Golf Leader at Cherokee Town and Country Club. Chris Knobloch, the GM and Head Golf Professional at Noonan Country Club. How he has time to teach any kids, I have no clue. How do you do it?
Because they're all shorter than me.
The kids are shorter than him, and therefore it is easy. Adam Osberg, PGA Junior Golf Leader from Carmel Country Club. And Jackie Canizo, Director of Instruction at the Country Club of Roswell. And then finally, Bill Fetter, who's our first assistant golf professional here at Druid Hills, the Junior Program Director, and has done a great job with the juniors here at the club. Glad to have you with us, folks. To kick things off again, some general questions. It's funny how the energy from this day is gone. I had some folks come up to me with some really, really good questions that they were interested in, and I'm going to pass them on to you guys in just a minute. But one of the general questions, and I'd open this up to everybody here, in this day and age where children's schedules are busier than ever, how do y'all compete with and or differentiate your golf programs from the other sports and activities that the kids are competing with? Jackie?
I knew I didn't want to sit next to him. First of all, I want to thank Chad for hosting this and thank everyone for staying. I know it's kind of late in the day, and so thank you for sticking it out. Our junior golf program will kick off in February with our instructional part, and then our program is actually in the summer, our summer play day program, which is on Thursday mornings. And we schedule it, and we have 8 or 9 weeks of play, so the kids, the only conflict that we have is probably swim in the summertime. But we're out there at 7:30 on Thursday mornings, and we have the whole golf course till 11. So we're very fortunate that we're able to accommodate, probably at least 100 kids a week in a play day program. So, there's no special sauce to working around the other programs. They're either in, they're out. But if they can't make it, usually, for the play day, it's just they're going to catch another week. So, that's the beauty of having a consistent weekly play day program.
Adam?
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much for having us and for hosting this fantastic event. It's a pleasure to be here. I would just say that, we try to run after-school programs as often as possible. We set our juniors up on a 10-week series. We teach Monday through Friday, so we have a lot of juniors coming through a very busy country club. I would say we try to differentiate by playing a lot of games, making instruction as fun as possible. From the U.S. Kids Instructors Certification Program, I learned the importance of playing games and having a great time with the kids, and it really changed my focus from trying to lecture and teach about the fundamentals quite as much to really making sure the kids were just having a blast. And then when they wanted to get a little bit better at that game, then I introduced the fundamentals, like that next step to getting better. That's what I'd say.
That's great. Chris?
Well, I think the theme has been the fun, and to make yourself different. In my new role as GM and multiple other things I do at the club, it's selling memberships as well. And when you show that you have a focus on junior golf and the family activities, a potential member is more likely to consider joining. So I think our change of philosophy this year and last year as I took over the junior program is just really let people know that juniors are very, very important. They're not a side item. They don't get in the way. You make your facility inviting, when they do come. I think Joe Guerra said that pretty well. When these kids walk into our golf shop or in our clubhouse, just like Jeff, I don't call him dude, but I'm close. But I give them a little high five and learn their names, and you know what? That makes the parents, really feel good that their kids are, really welcomed at the golf club, and that retains membership and does a lot of good things, along the line.
Right. Bill, some of the things that you've done here?
Said we also have a very active after-school program. Kids' schedules this day and age are far busier than they were when I was growing up. I went home and just played in the backyard or whoever was around. It seems like every kid now has like an activity Tuesday, an activity Wednesday. And so, we've offer as much as we can given our staffing, but we offer, clinics Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday afternoons after school, and we can hope that we can grab, each kid at least one day a week. Some kids have time to come more, but as long as, you coordinate your schedule around your kids' schedules, that seems to be the best method for us.
Mike, what have been some of, Mike and Ryan have two of the best junior programs, very renowned programs around Atlanta. What have been some of the characteristics that you guys have undertaken that have caused some of the success?
Well, I mean, the reality is that we are in a very competitive market right now with, as you introduced the question, so many things to do. I think one of the biggest keys is the way that we get the information out. I like to have sort of like a two-prong effect. I like to get them early and I like to get them late. Because basically you're either going to have parents that are looking forward to seeing the program introduced because they have been in it before and are looking to get in it again, or you're potentially going to have parents that basically are almost functioning on a week-to-week basis. So I find that it's good to do some registrations, months in advance, and then follow that up with a lot of communication a couple weeks prior to. We do a lot of email blasts to our membership or your constituents if you're not at a private club. And having that sort of two-prong, you get them early and you get them late, it really does do a really good job of getting your participants. And what we do at Dunwoody, and this is for across the board, is we do a late winter open house. And what we do there is we basically set up a few tables that will have all the programs that we are going to offer for the year already planned and scheduled, and we will go up there in February with our entire junior program with their, with the sign-up sheets. And of course, you got to follow back up with them a month or a few weeks in advance and say, hey, just by the way, remember you signed up 6 months ago. But by getting way ahead of how other people may be functioning, you can get them early. And then once again, towards the latter part, I always find that, we may have a limit of 12 kids in a program, and where we're at, 4 or 5 from very early registration, we get a lot of registration in the week or two leading up to it. So I think obviously communication is the key, and the way that we have communicated is through that, that early phase, and then once again backing it up. And we do a junior golf program booklet that we have basically by the middle of January, early February, that spells out the entire year. That basically if somebody comes in and says, hey, what junior programs do you offer? Obviously we discuss it, but it's always very nice to say, here you go. And there's about 20 pages that goes through junior play policies, junior etiquette policies, and then into the programs themselves. And then of course we also put that online on the website. So it's communication. I mean, because we have to be in front of them in order to get them to sign up with us.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Mike on that. Being a part of a private club, it's very important to communicate and use your resources that you have accessible to you. We also utilize website. We have a junior book that we send out at the beginning of every year. Our program goes through the wintertime, through the summertime. Again, if we have the staff to do it, we offer programs during the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, after-school programs. We fluctuate monthly. I do my research on other sports and what their schedules are, and then that way I can build my program every year depending on what day it is. So in the fall, I'll have boys come Tuesday and Wednesday, and then I'll switch it up in the spring depending on what sports, because you're competing with soccer, you're competing with fall ball, spring ball, baseball is one of our biggest competitions, obviously. So again, you just have to do your research on your competitions. But again, like Mike said, just can't emphasize more on communication and how often you can do it. We email weekly what our schedules are on a daily basis. We offer it on the websites. I PDF a form of all my classes that I do throughout the year and post it on the website and put my fax number on there. So all they have to do is circle what program they want to sign up for, and they fax it to me. So the easier you make it for them and the more accessible you make it for whoever your clients may be, the easier it's going to be to keep the program going.
I had a comment or a question asked whether we could ask this question. The comment that led up to it was Lissa had said that she has to send a text message to their kids to ask them to open their emails up to get the information about their programming. So it kind of opened my eyes that, of the resources that the kids are using, the Vine, the Facebook, email could be the future compact disc when it comes to communicating with your kids. Have you guys begun using Twitter, using those resources to communicate, and how successful, and where do you think that's going to go?
With the Twitter part of things, I'm pretty new to that. I signed up on Twitter just because all my students wanted me to. I have yet to use it as a tool. But as far as Facebook goes, I think that's the biggest one, because you can do the messaging, and it really also depends on your club and what your club will allow you to do as far as what you can, market socially like that, just because there's so much out there. But Facebook is great.
There's still nothing that substitutes for a phone call, though, because, and I know we don't always have the time to do it, but when I got at Dunwoody, I think we had about 24 kids in our junior club championship. We had a big junior weekend, and I got it up to 60 players by picking up the phone. And like I said, I understand that's completely unconventional now, but there is no substitute for the personal touch.
Yeah, sure. There's no doubt about that. We're actually using some apps to try to develop and we've got a growing group of 12 to 14-year-olds that are really starting to take to the game. Some of them are good friends. Some of them don't really know the whole group. So there's an app called GroupMe. I'm sure there are several other apps out there that you can just plug in everyone's cell phone number, and you send out a mass text saying, hey, there's a game at 4:30, winners wins a sleeve of Pro V1s. And so whoever wants to come out and play can show up. And so the bigger we can make that cell phone database, the more kids we can have come out. That's good.
I would just add to that and just say I'm using Twitter. It was not something that I was accustomed to until just about a year ago. I'm lucky enough to work for a director of instruction named Jason Sutton at Carmel Country Club, and it was mandatory that I sign up for Twitter. It wasn't an option. And since joining it, the wealth of information that's out there and the other professionals that you can connect with is fantastic. I look at some of the leaders in the room like Nicole Weller and Don Law. I'm looking at their Facebook pages and their Twitter pages every day, seeing what they're doing, getting inspired by their ideas. And it's really important to do that, I feel like, because it helps you bring those ideas to your club. And from the membership side, I think if your club has a website, you want to make sure you're utilizing that, posting pictures, posting information, online signups, and definitely email too, creating Google groups and email blasts as often as possible.
We use Constant Contact for our signups every week for the Playday program, and so the parents get the email and then text the kids who are the older kids.
It's funny how fast that changes. I mean, like Mike said, the phone calls number one, but when you're dealing with kids that don't even talk to each other when they're sitting at the same table as they're texting, for us to try to impose what we think the communication method should be, I mean, really, ultimately, if we're talking about a junior audience, we're chasing them, and we got to speak their language the best way we can, right? In talking about one of the programs that Bill has come up with here at Druid Hills is a program that combines quick start tennis and golf. Bill, you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So, going back a couple years, we've had programming for, kids that, could play the game, 6 and up. But we weren't really reaching the, 5 and under age group. And as we all discussed earlier, kids are starting to play soccer, kids are starting to play t-ball, at the age of 3, 4, and 5, and they're not starting golf until, a little bit later. So we started this program in coordination with tennis, using Snag Golf and Quick Start Tennis. And it's a 45-minute class. We do it after school on, I guess this past season it was Wednesdays. And the first 10 minutes, it's athletic development. We do like skipping, jogging, tossing balls, bouncing balls, just basic motor movements just to kind of help them learn to be athletic. And then we break up into 3 stations. There's typically 1 golf and then 2 tennis instructors doing 2 different tennis stations. I mean, we're not playing the game, but we're teaching them fundamentals. They're not playing tennis, they're learning just basic racket fundamentals, carrying a ball and a racket, using the roller, using the launcher to move the ball around the tennis court. The lines on the tennis court are actually fantastic teaching tools, teaching them how to aim, which is great. And then we finish it with a fun game. We play this game called Bees and Hornets, where basically they line up on one line on the tennis court and they run to the other line and we bounce tennis balls at them and they have to jump or dodge, and they love having balls thrown at them. It's incredible. And I love throwing balls at them, especially after a long clinic. So that class has been a big success, and it's a feeder program into our 6 to 8 clinics. So we've already seen, this is a pretty new program, but we've seen the 5-year-olds who were taking place in the golf tennis, now they're coming to our 6 to 8 clinics. So we're just able to reach kids at a lot earlier age and in a very fun format, like it's been echoed 56 times today. Fun, fun, fun. And then this clinic, it's we're constantly moving, changing different things, keeping it fresh, so the kids never get bored, which is the key. So they walk away with they didn't play tennis, they didn't play golf, but they came away with thinking golf and tennis were fun, and that's
among other sports, seems to just exist kind of in a vacuum. For us to go over to the tennis professional and say, hey, we'd like to try this. We just invested in Snag Golf and we'd like to try this combo program. His eyes lit up and he said, well, I've been doing this for 3 years. Why don't you just join in with what we're doing? And it seems like a very simple idea, but from what I can tell, I haven't been able to find anywhere that's doing something like this. But just, what the tennis professional, Ben, has told us is that his kids that are going through this skills development, very, hand-eye coordination development programs, by the time they arrive to the 6, 7-year-old clinics that are a little bit more tennis specific, they're much, much more ready to go. And, that just jump-starts the whole deal. And we're competing with the other sports already. It's really been a nice program for us. Jackie, you've had great success in transitioning kids from beginner golfer to collegiate player. If you were going to break that down into the elements of success, how do you pace that?
Patience. That's the first thing. I guess, again, going back to what we do at the club and, something that Jeff alluded to is I think doing instruction on the golf course with kids and getting them on the golf course, as I said, we are able to have kids starting out at 4 years old up to 18 that play. We provide a program for them to play as well as the instructional part. And I think that has been the key to the success of getting, these kids are out playing 3 holes from, 100 yards at the age of 4, 5, and 6. And then we have 6-holers. We have U.S. Kids tee boxes, so the kids, again, are able to play the short tees, and they move back to the long tees. And we're very much hands-on with, when to move them to different tees, when to move them up to 9 holes, when to move them up to 18, and letting them succeed at our level before they even go out and compete. And then certainly being there for a resource to give the kids the tools to, or parents the tools, what's next for kids. It's U.S. Kids Golf, it's Atlanta Junior Golf, it's Georgia PGA, then it's Southeastern, then it's American. So again, not only are we providing the instruction and getting the kids on the course, but then we're providing them with resources and counseling as to what to do next and how to go to college, how to, when I leave here today, I'm meeting with the young lady, we're going to go over her resume and giving them, as I said, those, that information. But I do want to say the biggest thing that we do to get kids motivated is our Red Ticket program, which is we do an incentive program. So we're not, each of our weekly play days, we never compete, some of them we don't really even keep score, but we give them these red raffle tickets, and at the end of the year, we have a big raffle. And we've tricked the kids. We've actually tricked them. They actually want to go out and practice and putt and play games and do all this stuff. So every single day, they come into the shop and they say, I went out and I putted and I hit balls. Can I have my red tickets, please? And we give them their little red raffle tickets, and we give away stuff like Oakleys and clubs and balls and all this stuff. And I'm telling you, that is the best thing that we've ever came up with, because that has incentivized these young people to continue to practice. And so, as I said, if they've gone on, they're used to practicing. They're used to, wanting to get better. But it's about those red tickets. I'm telling you, it makes everybody crazy. But I invite everybody to come to our end of the year program, and you will not believe this. It's a frenzy.
One of our things at Druid Hills, and I'm sure it's not on its own in this endeavor, we have 700 kids under the age of 17 here, and it's been our goal to bring girls to the game of golf and keep them playing, but we see a drop-off as soon as 11, 12, they just go elsewhere. Adam, your program at Carmel Country Club has seen great success with the girls program in particular. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. When I got the job of junior golf leader at Carmel, it was my job to grow the program. And looking at the program and trying to see the best areas of opportunity, I recognized that girls golf, we really didn't have a program. There was a couple of girls who would come out to our clinics, but really it was very sparse. And so I started thinking back to my own experiences, and I got my start in golf in the AT&T Juniors Foundation, a subsidiary of the Pebble Beach tournament that they have out there, the AT&T Pro-Am. And Johnny Miller came out and did a demonstration clinic, and I was invited by a friend to go watch that, and I was completely inspired. And after watching him and going to that clinic, then I got my around the club, and I found one of our members, her name's Perry Swenson. She grew up as a junior at Carmel Country Club, so it was perfect. She went on to play through the AJGA, was an outstanding junior player, went on to the University of Texas, and then played several years on the Futures Tour, and was back now working in Charlotte. So I talked to her and I said, listen, I've got this idea for this demonstration clinic, and I want to invite as many girls as possible to come out so that they can see there's a bunch of young ladies just like them that would also share an interest in golf. And so we did that. We set up a day, and we email blasted all of the parents and advertised it on our website, and we had 60 young ladies show up. And I did a couple things to make it special. We hired a professional photographer to come out so that each of the young ladies could take a picture next to Perry with her staff bag. And she had like a baseball playing card, her swinging a golf club, and so she signed autographs for the young ladies. And, in my opening remarks, I just welcomed everybody, and I told them, this isn't just a one-time clinic. This is the beginning of a junior girls golf program. And if you look around, you'll see so many young ladies just like you that are interested in this game. And you can have a big program here, and we want to have a home for you here in golf. So she did that, and I would say about 30 of the young ladies out of the 60 have been retained, and they're attending weekly clinics for now a year and a half. And it's just become something that we're very proud of and something we're very excited about.
Are those clinics, those are girl-specific clinics?
Yeah, that was one thing I felt was important, was to remove the boys as a distraction. So we, and possibly, a little bit of intimidation. If the girls didn't feel like they wanted to hit shots in front of the boys, I just felt like let's give them their own separate opportunity. And now what's happening is the girls are developing to the point where we had a girls-only junior league golf team, and they're out there playing against the boys, and in a lot of cases they're beating them, and it's very cool to see.
I imagine that would get the different groups fired up and looking forward to competition. Jackie, have you noticed that also, between separating up to a certain age or just in general?
Girls Golf Club, which we started, which they meet once a month, and so that has given them their own party, if you will. But I do think it's important to integrate at some point, but also to have them their own separate stuff.
Is there an age specific you think that I'm thinking about my 12-year-old? Just keep her separate.
Yeah, keep her separate for sure. I think about 7 to 8 is really when we start to separate them, I think. What do you think?
I would definitely agree.
And
7 to 12, the girls are pretty much on their own, in their own clinics, but they're welcome to join the boys. It's not that they can't be in the boys' clinics, but I set Wednesdays apart for girls only. That way they know they have one place that they don't have to worry about the boys being there.
Chris, can you speak to, we need to know about the Bring the E program.
Okay. Well, a little bit, instead of the beta blockers you were talking about, I bring the Red Bull, okay? Because the first thing for E is energy. And I think any of the great instructors that are in this room, you have to have energy to deal with the kids you're dealing with, especially if you're doing an after-school program. And I've done the school programs on campus, and think about the kids have been locked up all day in the rooms, and they're ready to get out of school, and they're wild, So the first 5 minutes, on an after-school program, I call energy out, and it'll be exercise, it'll be a bunch of things, because if you don't, it's going to be unruly. So my first E is energy, is bring the energy. The second thing is education. We need to teach the kids something by a structured program. They love to learn, they're sponges, so I think, have a little structure to your program. I don't think it has to be too much, but it can be as simple as a snag as, the hold in the golf club, but have something that they want to learn. Exercise, movement skills are fun. Use music. Music creates movement. Nicole talked about fundamental movement skills. We throw a lot of balls. We toss beanbags. The cornhole is a great tool. I even saw Charlie Reimer throw some beanbags the other morning on Golf Channel. But, anything you can do to create fundamental movement skills, throw footballs, kick soccer balls, that is creating the athlete that we need to create to make a good golfer. Effort. One of the things you reward effort, not ability, and that's through, the Positive Coaching Alliance that we talked about with U.S. Kids certification, and reward effort and reward attitude. Some of the kids, they do get down on themselves and that negative talk, or I can't do this, I'm not as good as little Johnny. We need to reward effort and attitude of these kids. And then the last E is everlasting. And the people in this room are the dedicated people to junior golf. We've got a lot of people in our section, and we've got a small percentage of those people in this room that have come to learn about junior golf. So you are the dedicated people to junior golf, and you're making an impact on these kids' life. So that's everlasting, and that's what you want to always remember. They're looking up at you. I've got kids that I taught and they've got kids themselves, and they said, hey, I remember when you did this, and those things really, really leave something that you're proud of, that you're doing something rewarding, and it just sort of, no matter what money you make, that's the things that you leave with. So that's my ease, and I try to take that to every class, every clinic, and also teach the instructors I teach with too.
Thank you. Every golf facility is a little bit different regarding access for their junior golfers. Can you talk to us a little bit about how your facility, do they open the backside up before the greens are mowed? And talk a little bit about your schedules. Tuesday is this kind of clinic, Wednesday is this clinic. Kind of general overview setup of your junior programs.
I think first for us, we only have about 10,000 to 12,000 rounds, so there's a lot of access, and that's where the club has embraced doing junior golf. So we'll do the play days similar to what Jackie does, certainly not on that number, but I think you find space on the golf course, and you make the kids feel welcome, that they want to be out there, or they can come out there anytime.
It's different throughout the year, obviously. Summer, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, generally morning class, afternoon class, covering basics, mainly on the golf course. We're lucky enough to have a short game facility that's away from the golf course, manicured just like the golf course, so I'm able to set up my own par 3 course out there, which makes it a lot easier to get the kids around. Fridays, golf tournaments. Saturdays, tournaments on the short game, par 3 shootouts. Sundays, girls class. Fluctuates throughout the year. So in spring, you do after-school programs Tuesdays, Wednesdays. You do girls classes on the weekends, boys classes on the weekends, whatever. The more you offer, the more opportunity you're giving them. And honestly, if you can affect one, that's all you need is just one. Don't be worried about your return on time invested. If you can get one, it's just going to grow from there. So, the more you offer, the better off you are.
Mike?
Ours is similar. We actually do avoid winter scheduling. We're a March through October schedule, and we sort of start with a weekend program, work our way sort of like Cherokee, into weekdays, and then obviously summertime we stay weekdays. We do have our golf course. Believe it or not, on Friday mornings we use the back nine. Just at Dunwoody, Friday mornings tend to, literally between like 8 and 8:30, we usually don't have much play. So we do, the bulk of our players are 9-hole players. We send them off starting at 8 o'clock off of number 10. We do actually at this point with, through the last 10 years that I've been at Dunwoody, as the program has evolved and the club can clearly see the benefit to the club, as we've worked through the recession, we've most certainly, held our own with memberships based on the fact that we're a full-service private club. And if you weren't a full-service private club over the last 3 or 4 years, good luck. But because of that, because we have the cooperation of the membership, we're able to set aside a couple of 18-hole tee times as well, going off of number 1. But I think, outside of that, it's also important just to make sure that you're fashioning your programs so that they can evolve with your players. You want to make sure that you have entry-level programs, but, if you want to keep your advanced juniors in your junior golf program and they don't just become a victim of private golf lessons, which I am not a fan of, then you do need to, fashion a program that evolves with them. I actually grew up in team sports. I played a little bit of golf when I was a junior, and then I played baseball and college baseball, and then got back to golf. So my viewpoint on the way that we should instruct golf is much more on a team basis than it is an individual basis. So Jackie and I, years and years ago, started a junior interclub league with about 9, 12, 9, it fluctuates year to year, of clubs where we get 6 kids from each of our clubs. We set them up in divisions, they have league matches, and then a championship. And really that evolved out of the fact that I was watching the junior golf program at Dunwoody and would see the better juniors eventually just go on to private lessons. And I'm like, well, this isn't the way that you get the most successful, as a program and as an individual. And although I'm a Maryland guy, I do have respect for Coach K. And the only way that, you're going to get your team better is through competitive practice. So I wanted to make sure that on the advanced side of things, that we got our advanced kids back together, and that ended up being an advanced junior golf school, which was much more geared towards, to playing the game as opposed to just, fundamentals. It was more certainly course management and situational strategy. But that in the end evolved into the interclub league that we sort of came up with. So you want to make sure, we've got to get them into the program, that is for sure. And that's certainly the downstream situation that we need to put our priority on, but we also got to make sure we're upstream as well, so that we don't lose the 12 and 13 and 14-year-old boys or girls, who think now I'm just a association player.
We do 29,000 rounds here, so it's pretty busy, but you can always find a gap somewhere. And so we just pile all the kids into the cart, find a hole, and just start playing golf. And early on, when they're 6, 7, 8, they love getting in the bunkers. They love the bunkers. It kills me because I always have to rake it up after them. But then it's funny, as they get older, they really start to enjoy playing. And now you have the 10, 11, 12s who, they want to play as many. They know they have an hour and a half, and they want to play as many holes as they can in that hour and a half. And just the clinic probably 2 weeks ago, I had 2 kids who were a little bit older, probably on the 11 side, with a 9-year-old in this group, and the 2 11-year-olds kind of coached the 9-year-old along and taught him about pace of play, and encouraged him, hey, we're only going to get in 2 holes if you don't keep up. He was, he's struggling with his bag, but so it's really cool just getting them on the golf course. They really kind of learn the game in their own way, like I guess Stuart Sink was talking a lot about earlier. So
there's a lot of talk now about team practice. Do any of your clubs do that sort of instruction, team-based instruction?
We certainly do at Dunwoody, which, I sort of just, discussed briefly, and that was sort of the evolution for me as to how I could bring my own personal background of being much more from team sports than an individual sport. And it's paramount. It's paramount to the fact that and now we're on the competitive side of the conversation, but it's paramount to that competitive side, without a doubt.
Yeah, I think you should definitely offer up, as we do the same thing, we offer up team formats for the more inexperienced kids, the juniors that are just going through the camps, that just learn the game, and it makes them, like they were saying earlier, it makes them feel like more of a part of something, opposed to being singled out and feeling intimidated and not even wanting to play in your golf tournament, because you don't have that to offer them. As soon as I started offering team-involved stuff, I increased greatly just by offering that to them.
And it's a goal, right? And the PGA Junior Golf League was wonderful because it sort of became our minor league program to our major league program, which is the Atlanta Junior Challenge Cup. So it sort of works together, and the kids most certainly are aware and want to make it, which is only going to inspire them to get better.
if you had to go in a play in a tournament, would you want to be in a member or play by yourself? Everybody, not everybody, but I'd say majority of golfers, kids or adults, they want to play on a team because it takes all the pressure off. It's a lot more fun. It's fun to go grind for 4 days, every once in a while, but it's hard. So, team golf is, I think it's where things are headed.
Ryder Cup. It's the most fun tour players have when they play in those events, and they clearly have said that through tons of interviews.
Relative to ratios, is there a certain ratio of kids to student that you guys subscribe to? And then a second question is regarding scheduling. How are you taking your sign-ups? Is there a penalty for, not showing or showing up without signing up?
We're 6-1 for kids 7 years and older, and we are 4-1 on 6 and less. And we just started with 4-year-olds. We had been 5-year-olds as our youngest. And at our setting, we do not charge.
Yeah, we're 6-1 as well. We don't have any consequences for not showing up if you sign up. We just have assigned staff that we utilize, interns. stuff like that, just to make sure that we're covered in case we do get a large group, but we do put a cap on it. We had to put a cap on it at one point because we had so many in one class and we weren't prepared for that ratio. So yeah, putting a cap on it and just making sure you're well-staffed, yeah.
Yeah, and just to add to that, we do 7 to 1 at Carmel. We have a busy weekday clinic schedule. We book juniors on a 10-week package, and I charge in advance for that because I feel like it helps encourage participation throughout the clinic series. I find that if you just charge by the clinic, a lot of times what you'll find is that the first 2 or 3 weeks the juniors will show up, maybe a week, and then it starts to taper down throughout the series if you don't hold them accountable up front.
We do about the same, 6 to 1. It certainly depends on the age. We found, listening to our parents, that signing up for a month package didn't work for them. You got to listen to your clients, basically. The other thing that we find, if we do have more kids show up, we do have someone available to back them up, but we pair them up. If you pair them up, you could, do contests within there and certainly do similar to what the PE make small games. You'll have maybe 3 games and you'll have little groups at each game and then you rotate. So I think if you prepare properly for a lot of kids, I think you can handle more kids than maybe we're handling right now.
What does success look like for you and your program, 5 years from now? I mean, if it's good now, what does really good look like? I mean, what kind of numbers or, in participation, is it relative to, the number of members you have or the audience you're working on? What does super success look like at a first-class junior program?
If you face 2 challenges, getting kids to, introduced to the game, and then getting them to actually play the game on their own. And, we talked a lot about introducing kids to the game, but I think there's definitely a lot of merit in actually getting kids out on the golf course, playing the game. And the quicker you can do that, I would assume the more likely they're going to be a lifelong golfer. So that, I would definitely say that's one of the 2 big measures there.
Yeah, and then, depending on your membership, how many members you have if you're at a private club, or depending on your environment in a public situation in the community, I would also think has a big effect on the growth of your program. But like I said earlier, as long as you just grow it by 1 or 2, I mean, right there, you're continuing to grow the game. You're growing the game, and that's what we're trying to accomplish. So.
And just from a different perspective, it would be their continuation of playing the game. Our role as golf professionals is to promote the game of golf. So whether or not, I have a junior golfer that starts at Dunwoody and 5 years down the road, I have no idea where they are. If they're still playing the game, then we were successful. From a private club standpoint, there are a number of ways that you could measure success. In the immediate standpoint, you're going to start seeing more rounds of golf. You're going to start seeing more families playing golf. That has a tremendous benefit on a lot of things, when you have the family together on the golf course doing something as opposed to everybody being somewhere different. And then ultimately, at the private club, like we've seen recently at Dunwoody, we've had 4 kids. I've been at Dunwoody for 10 years. There were 4 kids in our junior program that just became members. And that's the ultimate goal of a private club, because, we can't deny the fact that we need members to have jobs.
I think it's watching the continuation of their golfing career, I think, is the measurement, I believe, of success. Down the road, it's about numbers. It'll be about numbers, and do they stay in the game? And we see that a lot too. The kids that have gone on and then come back and have joined, and as well as they're out there playing with their parents. So to me, that's when I know the system and the program works.
And just to add to that, I'd say, if you're growing at 10 to 15% pretty steady every year, that'd be a great number. Looking at our club to transition more juniors from clinics into their first tournament experiences. The U.S. Kids is doing some great things with giving juniors their first opportunities to get out there and have their first tournament experience. And then having more of your juniors play in middle school and high school events, and then transitioning to the AJGA, and eventually offering opportunities for them to get college scholarships, and helping the parents, find out more about what that takes. One thing we did this year was to offer a college night where we brought in some experts in the industry to talk about what it takes to get a college scholarship. And we were lucky enough to have 7 of our juniors that all got D1 scholarships this last year. It's just this super group that came through our program, and they all at the same time. And so we said, great, let's piggyback off this success and get them in there and have them up. And we did a panel discussion, and they answered questions, and we had a high school counselor that was talking about all of her best practices, and then Mark Slaughter and Brandy Jackson are 2 like concierge for that to help juniors make that transition. So I'd say that's...
Yeah, I agree. That's a great measure. How many kids do you graduate into collegiate golf? I know Augusta Country Club, they're great golfing town, but they consistently graduate 4 to 8 D1, D2, D3 golfers every single year, and I mean that's just phenomenal. So I think you're right. That's a great measure.
We're afraid to toot our own horn and promote the successes that we're having, even at your own club, or even bigger than that amongst ourselves. Just sitting here thinking about a wall of fame for all of your junior golfers to see, as your kids come through and participate. I mean, whether they go on to, win a PGA Tour event or go on to be a CEO of a company, on that wall of fame, there's junior golf 2013. If we can come together and figure out ways to, promote what we've done and share the wealth of knowledge, then we really got a chance,
I think that's extremely important, and obviously, most of us in this room are here for that very reason. But my wife is a teacher, and I always find it just sort of interesting how the sharing of information when you are a teacher can be a touchy subject. And the only way that we grow this game, and in particular for junior golf, is by sharing that information. And I've emailed my junior program book probably to a dozen different golf professionals, and would be happy to do so.
But then the talent at the club got so good that they had to limit that and just put up these collegiate players, and pretty soon it's probably going to be just the players who get their tour cards in their first professional tournament. But it's an amazing program, but you can start really early. You don't have to wait for college.
Well, Ray is the model.
I think our club's not unique. We had a problem in that we didn't celebrate our club history. If you won a tournament, once you got the trophy, that was pretty much it. You're going to get your name in the newsletter, but that was it. So, one of the things we did was we recognized what our major tournaments were, and this is for, adult golf, and, there's no reason why the junior locker room can't be the same way. But you win something, to have some sort of record that goes on your locker and says, and I don't care what happens now, your handicap's gone up to 37, but by golly, you won the President's Cup in 2012, and they can't take that away from you. But celebrating your history, I know in this room there's bunches and bunches of success going on out there, because like Chris said, if you're in this room, you care about junior golf. So for us to celebrate the kids that are doing such great things, I mean, it seems so naive, but I know we weren't doing it. And it's a step we all can take in the right direction.
Yeah, I think it's just as important as professionals to reach out to each other as well. Don't limit yourself. Don't think that you can do it all. Don't think that you've got the answer. I will admit right off the bat that I did not start my program, and I did not build it by myself. The help of my professionals that I asked and that were willing to help me throughout my progress and doing what I'm doing now is what helped me become a better professional and junior golf leader. U.S. Kids, the amount of resources that they offer to help junior golf instructors, the junior certified program, the top 50 instructors program. I mean, there's so many things out there that can help if you're just willing to go out and take the time and learn.
I think, too, that it's important to get everybody to buy into a junior golf program from the top to the bottom, as Ryan was saying, that you've got to get the board of directors so they see the value of it. You've got to get your staff on board. It's the biggest thing that we do is everybody at our facility is involved in the kids program because it's such a value to the program. And I think you've got to, I think we really have to do a good job to, as I said, get everybody to buy into that.
And there's nothing wrong with identifying the strengths and weaknesses of your staff. Who's the best with the teenagers? Who's the best with the little ones? And make sure that you have the right professionals with the right groups.
Yeah, you
sure.
can't just go throw an entry-level guy out there with the 6-year-olds and think that he's going to do okay. I mean,
That would never happen, right?
it's like, you have to understand that these kids are the growth of the game, and why wouldn't you put your most experienced and knowledgeable person out there who is capable of making that and improving on that? So I think that's also very important.
Now, that's a pretty interesting point. In a lot of clubs, and a lot that I've ever worked at, that was exactly it. Low person on the totem pole, go out there and congratulations, you're now the director of junior golf. See you later.
That was one of the things that inspired me to want to do better. That very thing is, one of the facilities I've worked at in the past, I felt like we were glorified, child care service, and I didn't feel like there was an instruction base.
So, training the staff, whoever that person is, they need to have a predisposition to being able to work with the juniors, which comes in handy. But B, they need the training too, to leave them to learn on their own. You have some dire results sometime.
Well, Chad, this is a part of that, so that's why we're happy to be here. So.
And where's everybody else? Where's all of our constituents? That's what's I think the most frustrating thing is that the people in this room, we're the ones who are doing it, we're in it, we're involved, we're hands-on, we're sharing, but we need to get our association, not just at the local level, but at the national level, on board with this, with junior golf and certainly in women's golf. I think that's a big part, and someone said earlier, is there lack of enough professionals, and I think there is a lack of professionals. Because again, they're not buying into it, they don't understand it, they don't know that, yeah, you can make a living, it's hard at times, but it'll get better. But I don't know how, the rest of us, we need help, right, guys? We need help.
Yeah, I would just add to that, if you're in a decision-making place at your club, or if you can help encourage the people who are making the decisions, there's several companies out there that offer instructor certification programs. The Snag Golf does it. US Kids is one that's really influenced my junior golf teaching career. Let your management know how important it is to you to get certified from a company like US Kids that spends 100% of their time devoted to juniors and then offers the next stages through the level development program for the kids. And they're out there with their hats and their pins, and they get certified in full swing and chipping and putting, and that has just completely turbocharged our program. And I think, if many more clubs were doing it, they'd see the same results.
And I guess a possibility here is that as the folks in this room, we lead the way and create these programs, the ones that are watching behind will have to catch up. As we all know it's important, they might not see it until they're forced to make a decision with it.
Or looking for another job.
In the insurance industry.
Like Mike said earlier, especially from a private standpoint, when it comes to convincing members of what's going on, you can easily show them the bottom line. Golf shop sales, junior golf rounds going up. So for those guys who are looking for those numbers, it shows.
Speaking of bottom line, what do you guys think the trend is, or even the current situation is in regards to individual lessons versus clinics and things like that for all of you?
I don't know what anyone else's opinion on that is. I'm more on the same page with Mike. I think it's definitely a case-to-case scenario. It depends on if you're dealing with a very coordinated individual, even as young as 7 or 8 years old, that knows what's going on, but you can't really put them in the same scenario as a 5-year-old who can't really hold the club the same way every single time. I think that's one of my biggest challenges. It's so case to case, you really just have to make that call, and like Mike said, the clinic is really the way to go. But as far as private instruction, that's when the kids really get to that advanced level at 16, 17, where they're purely playing in competitions. They're not really doing the clinics anymore. I mean, those are really the only ones that I recommend going to individual instruction.
Yeah, I think,
I guess my question is, what is your ratio? Like right now, is it 90% clinics, 10%?
Oh, okay, yeah. I'd say it's closer to 75-25.
I think that's about right, but you've got also parents that want their kid to get that one-on-one attention. It says, hey, you didn't spend any time with little Johnny today. We're spending $10 for this clinic, and you didn't spend any money or any time. So I think, what I've done on younger kids is just make my individual time shorter, whether 15-minute lessons, one-on-one, lower the price, and now you're making the member happy because they want you to spend that time, but then you're keeping them involved in your program as well.
yeah, I mean, I think you encourage the kids, certainly at the beginning, to take clinics. Little Johnny hanging out with a buddy, he's sure he's going to have a lot more fun hanging out with his buddy taking a clinic as opposed to one-on-one with me. So that's what it's all about. You want them to keep coming out. And so that group clinic arena is just a lot more better learning environment for really all beginners.
And I would
think
just
too,
add- oh, I'm
sorry. No, I think it's creating a program. I have a coaching program where I actually, that's what I've done, and that's what I mostly do with my instruction program. I don't really do one-on-ones. I just package it together, and honestly, a lot of the one-on-one time is supervised practice. And I position it that way. It's affordable. I've made it affordable. But also, then you can also put some kids together that may be the same skill level and call it supervised practice. And I think that's been really successful for me.
And I would say probably 100% of the kids that we had in our advanced junior golf school were taking private lessons. You can do both, and I think that's where we function at our best, because there's no doubt at a certain age, if you're trying to get to a certain level, it's going to take one-on-one instruction. But at the same time, you maximize your own individual successes in a team setting as well.
Yeah, ultimately, the kid notices, though. He gets to a point where he can tell that it's time for individual instruction. He'll ask for it. So you let them kind of get there on their own.
All right. Okay.
I've started to do some different things as of this year, just because, before I've had programs which have about an 8-to-1 ratio, and we do have some assistants, some helpers involved in that. And then I was doing so many private lessons for a lot of years. I've been at my club for 18 years, so sometimes you keep doing what you do, and then you need to stop and say, I need to change things up a little bit here. So your time as an individual is limited, especially when you're dealing with a hot summer in Arizona and your windows of better time of day are very short. So this year I started to put kids who maybe didn't even know each other in duets and trios and quartet lessons. So I had the bigger groups, and then I stopped the groups when the weather gets really hot. And then the ones that want to continue taking lessons, I'll pair them up with another kid. And sometimes the ages are, maybe an 8 and a 12-year-old together. I know the dynamics. I know the kids personally, so I know who's going to fit well. Sometimes it's a boy and a girl together in a lesson. Sometimes it's 3 kids. I used to do those trios and quartets with kids who were already friends, and I do have a lot of those that still take private type mini group lesson, but now I've started to pair the kids together. It's working very well. So they're engaging, their interests are different, they're learning from each other inside that lesson setting. I'm able to have them coach each other, but still guiding their progress too. So that might be something that other people can incorporate as they get so busy they can't handle. And it's just been great variety.
And I imagine, too, the networking of the kids, if you're pairing kids that you think will get along, I mean, as golf professionals, we tend to know these kids pretty well. If they can expand their network, now this is the phone call or the person they're texting and say, hey, let's go play.
Yeah, definitely.
And then, yeah. Mr. Nelson, last question.
Hey, Jackie, could you expand a little bit more in detail, like with your coaching method? I mean, for example, let's say you have 5 kids. Are they paying a monthly fee? And how many hours per week? And how do you structure the practice?
So my coaching program, I have a year fee, or I break it down monthly. It depends on the level of the junior as well as the age of the junior. So, for example, my younger kids that are in that program, could be 30-minute, 45-minute sessions if they're on their own, and I have them do it monthly. And then my older kids, it's just a flat fee that I charge, and then I actually schedule, again, it may be a 15 minutes here, but it may be on, I schedule, depends on, if I've got a kid playing a tournament, and we might be 1 hour, 1 week going out and play, or even 2 hours. So again, it takes the time out of it a little bit. So, but I would say it can be anywhere from a 15-minute look-see to a 2-hour playing lesson. It really depends on the kid.
So you don't necessarily have, say, every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday from 3 to 4 for this group of 5 advanced kids, like where you give them, those
Right, I know
5
what you're
kids,
saying.
you give 4 hours every week guaranteed, assuming that they can make it.
Right. I'm not doing that right now because I've got kind of a bit of an attrition where I've got a lot of younger kids. So what we're doing is through the Junior League program, the PJ Junior League, we've had the supervised practice, which we were doing in the summer. That was a set time, and those kids were coming to that program. But so right now, I've got my older kids. There's only a handful of them, so they're more younger and they're kind of fitting into that mold. So that's. But in the past, we have done those supervised practices, and it was that. It would be a monthly fee, and it would be a certain time, and it would be, no more than 5 kids in that supervised practice class.
Thank you.
Sure.
Well, folks, how about a round of applause for our program manager, Tom?